Hello and welcome. My name is Alex Romero with Galasso Learning Solutions. Today we're going to be looking at the ethics changes for SSAE engagements. So SSAE engagements. This is all about clarifying revisions for those engagements that are going to be subject to the statements on standards for attestation engagements. And this came out in December, exactly December 5th, 2025. And to look kind of at the background here, this was really about determining the independence interpretations and how they should be applied when attest engagements is not a financial statement attest engagements. So everything else beyond just those financial statement attest engagements. What are we going to be doing with our independence and how should we be interpreting that? So when we're looking at this is going to be applying to any attest engagement, not just those that are about financial statements. And really, this is kind of coming up because we do have a lot of different new engagement types. One of them that you're probably most familiar with is those ESG reports and looking at the environmental. And those reports aren't going to be providing financial statements, but they are still going to fall underneath being an SSAE engagement. And so what do we need to think about for independence when we are doing an attest engagement for something like an ESG report? So this is exactly what this interpretation is addressing. So it is going to be adding that clarity over the applicability of the interpretation to the SSAE engagement. And really the biggest thing that we're seeing here is the change in terminology. So we're going to see words and phrases like subject matter, attest, or reporting requirements. And as I go along, you'll see some of those words that we are actually removing so that this sounds more applicable. So one of the things that we are going to be changing here is an application clarification and a new definition. So previously, we saw the definition and the phrase period covered by the financial statements. Now, in our SSAE, we are going to be looking at the period covered by the attest report. It's not exclusive to financial statements. It's going to be speaking about whatever report you are going to be issuing as your attest engagement. And so there's also going to be some revisions to various interpretations as well. So now that we have this new term, period covered by the attest report, we need to have an understanding of what exactly that means. So there's kind of two components to this definition, and one of those is a point in time or a period in time to which the subject matter of the attest engagement relates. So it can be one specific point in time or it can be a period, but it doesn't have to be like a 12-month to then produce financial statements. It's going to be that period of time or that point in which it's relating to the attest engagement and that subject matter specifically. The second component is the period covered by the attest report can vary depending on the scope of that attest engagement. So I kind of talked about that a little bit with the first component of this definition, is that it can be just one day. It could be for a quarter. It could be for multiple years. That's not going to be what we're really concerned about. What we're thinking about is what is the attest engagement and what period of time or point in time are we speaking about for that specific engagement. So I think it's kind of helpful to have a little bit of an example of what some of those different type of attest reports might be. So one of the examples that you could see is a 6-month period covered by an examination report on maybe the controls at a service organization. And as of the 6-month period ending as of September 30th, 2025, or whatever year that's going to be. You also can see something single day, a single day covered by an examination report on the suitability of the design of controls implemented with a cybersecurity risk management program as of the date of October 31st, 2027, whatever that date is. So again, it's a kind of a mind shift, is thinking about this in different time increments, but you want to be really thinking about the attest engagement and not specifically towards financial statements being the end product there. So as I said, we are going to have some revisions to different interpretations. And what are some of those common revisions you're going to see? Well, instead of having the word audit, you are going to see the word attest. Again, not having that period of covered by the financial statements, and we're going to be looking at the period covered by the attest report. We also are going to see the removal of the phrase financial statements, and we're going to see things that are about attest engagement instead of audit work or attest services. So we're really removing that word audit and financial statements and really implementing and putting into place attest services, attest work, this period of time covered by that attest report. So some of the topics that you can see that are going to have some of these different interpretations might have to do with the use of a non-independent CPA firm on an engagement. This also can come into play if you're looking at immediate family members being employed by that attest client. So again, maybe you're doing an ESG report and you have a family member that is employed there. Well, now you're going to be looking at guidance that actually speaks to that. Another topic could be an honorary director or trustee of a nonprofit organization, subsequent employment or association with an attest client, also the scope and applicability of non-attest services. So all these different things are going to now be really talking about attest engagements and kind of walking back from it being really focused on audit and financial statements. So when is our effective date on this? Our effective date is going to be the revisions are effective for engagements that are going to be performed in accordance with that statements on standards of attestation engagements commencing on or after June 15th, 2026. Early implementation is allowed, but you just need to have that date in mind that this is going to be for those SSAEs that are commencing on or after June 15th, 2026. So we're really looking at fiscal year and calendar year 2027. So what are some of our key takeaways from this new interpretation that we're seeing out of this when we're really looking at our SSAE engagement, especially as we are having so many different new ones coming into play here? Our first item is looking at that clarified scope of what an attestation engagement is. The updated guidance clearly delineates. I always love when I can't say a word, but it clearly goes through and talks about which engagements fall within the scope of the statements of standards on those attest engagements, those SSAEs, and enhancing a practitioner's understanding of the applicability across those various service types. It also has that revised definition and reporting period concepts. So looking at a new definition for those covered engagements and explicit guidance on the period to be reported consistently for our attest engagements. And this is going to make it so that everybody has a better understanding of this and there isn't going to be that diversity in practice. So we are going to have the consistency in the application of this and the recording and reporting across our different practitioners. We also are going to see updated ethic interpretations applicability. So what does that mean? It's really looking at multiple ethic interpretations have been revised to really reflect the applicability in our SSAEs, talking about all those different attestation engagements. So this is going to ensure alignment between our ethical requirements and the expanded scope of these attestation standards. So not a lot changing here. It really is talking about moving away from having that mindset of audit and financial statements and thinking more about what different type of engagements or attest engagements that are going to be falling underneath this. And I think it's going to be helpful as we see this blended into other interpretations and you see that word attest work period underneath this attest report. So thank you very much as we looked at the new interpretations for our SSAE.